extra concerns in low carb and fasting? Sasagutin natin yan today because last night we addressed already the many questions and mga concerns ng mga tao sa low carb, but this time we will answer more. Kasi nga, konti lang yung natakol natin. And I still have some time, few minutes before ako umalis, and we will tackle some concerns. So, meron dito, I don't have gallbladder. Is keto applicable for me? I think we have already discussed this last night about gallbladder stones, yung mga taong wala ng gallbladder at yung mga taong meron pang gallbladder but with gallbladder stones. And important for them to know that what we are advocating here is not just keto, okay? What we are promoting is low carb nutrition. Ano yung pagkakaiba ng low carb and keto? So yung low carb is basically, para sa mga nagtatanong, it's lessening your overall carbohydrate intake to 50 grams or less. Maraming definition. Yung iba, merong liberal low carb as much as 100 grams. Merong iba, yung parang moderate low carb as much as 150 grams. But for our practice, we limit it to only 50 grams or less. Okay? So 50 grams or less ng carbohydrate in a day, you can think of it as parang 1 cup of rice with few tablespoon, with 1 or 2 tablespoon extra. Pero if you are gonna eat that, hindi ka mabubusog and at the same time, parati kang magugutom. After you eat that 1 cup of rice, even if sabihin natin pasok siya sa 50 gram of allowance for a day, but it will not be sustainable because magsa-spike yung inyong blood sugar at magsa-spike yung inyong insulin. So the tendency would be after 2, 3, 4 hours, gutom ka na naman. You will never get out of glucose burning. Ibig sabihin, yung katawan mo hindi masasanay na gumamit ng ibang klaseng fuel as a source of energy. If you will keep on eating even just at least 1 rice a day, at kahit pa sabihin natin yung 1 cup of rice na yan is just 45 grams of carbohydrates, and by definition, pwede kang pasok sa low carb, but you are not going to feel the benefits of being fat adapted o yung capacity ng ating katawan to utilize o gamitin yung taba as a source of energy. It is only when you start losing fats and using fats, yung ginagamit na yung ating sariling taba as a form of energy, that we can really see the healing and the lessening of inflammation sa ating katawan. So how to activate that? How to activate fat burning process is just to do away with carbs. Yung 50-gram allowance of carbohydrate in a day, hindi yan kailangan i-maximize. Not because we have that 50-gram allowance is kailangan nating ubusin yan. Actually, for us, what we do, we no longer count the carbohydrates, but we avoid it as much as we can. And so, the incidental carbohydrates, yung mga maliliit na carbohydrates na, say for example, sa isang itlog, meron niyang 1 gram of carbohydrates, so hindi na namin kailangan bilangin because the moment you can already count the carbohydrates that's in your food, that is already like a bulk of carbohydrates. But if you just choose foods na hindi mo halos makount yung carbohydrates dyan, like say for example, lettuce, pechay, green leafy vegetables, those are very minimal. Per 100 gram is just 3 grams of carbohydrate. Sobrang dami na po ng 100 grams or 200 grams of salad. Para na yung 2 bowl ng green salad. So, mahirap yung ubusin. So, that's why it's already somewhat negligible. Hindi mo na kailangan pang consciously isipin, consciously bilangin. When you do low carb, it's best to avoid all the carbs altogether and make it yung tawag nating incidental kung sa mga kakaunting condiments, sa kakaunting mga ingredients na nasasali sa inyong pagkain, so that you will not go into the mistake of consuming too much carbohydrates. Because sometimes if you just count, say for example, kakain ka ng ganitong keto goodies na merong 10 grams of net carbs, tapos kakain ka ng kakaunting say for example, rice na half cup lang, so that's 20 gram of carbs, and then a little, kain ka na naman lang isang chocolate na merong 15 gram of carbs. So, that might sum up to 50 grams, pero hindi mo na count yung mga other incidental carbs, the ones in your vegetables, the ones in your berries, kahit pa low carb yung berries, kahit pa low carb yung avocado, kahit pa low carb yung gata, yung coconut milk or coconut cream, but they still contain little carbs. So as much as possible, don't count the carbs but avoid them altogether and only consume the foods that are are low carb so that hindi ka talaga mag-over ng 50-gram limit. So what is the difference between keto and low carb? So keto actually is a strict form of low carb, meaning if yung limit natin with low carb is 50 grams, yung keto po is just 20 grams or less. It's very strict. So when you do keto, hindi lang siya basta low carb. It is paired with very high fat, wherein yung iyong overall calorie needs will have 60 to 75% galing sa taba. Say for example, if you are 2,000 kilocalorie na kailangan mo in a day for a 70 kilogram man, kung 70 kilos yung timbang, and generally you will need 2,000 kilocalories of that per day. So if you are into low carb, you just limit it to 5% or less. So 5% of 2,000 would be like 100 calories. So 100 calories per gram of carbohydrate will be equal to 4 grams of 4 calories. Okay? Huwag kayong mag-alala. Little math lang to. So 100 kcal divided by 4 is about 25. So 25 grams or less, 20 grams yan eh. 20 grams of carbs or 5% of your calorie needs, whichever is lower. So since 25 grams yon para sa isang 70 kilogram man, yung 5% ng carbohydrates, kung nalulos ko kayo, kung nalilito kayo, i-review niyo lang mamaya yung video, okay? So again, 2,000 kilocalorie needs of a 70 kilogram man. Kapag ito ay nagkikito, kailangan niya ng only 5% of calorie needs coming from carbohydrates or 20 grams per day, whichever is lower. So since 5% of those calories coming from carbohydrates will be equal to 100 calories, and per gram of carbohydrates is 4 kilocalories. So 100 divided by 4, that's 25 grams of carbohydrates. But since keto is 20 grams or less, so dun tayo sa 20 grams. So yung mangyayari, the remaining 1,900 kilocalories will be divided into fats and proteins. So for keto, kailangan niya ng 60 to 75% coming from fat. So it's a very high fat diet. So 75, so that is about 1,500, tama ba? 1,500 kilocalories coming from fats alone. So that will leave you to only 400 calories coming from proteins. So yung 400 calories mo coming from proteins will just be 100 grams of proteins. Okay? So 100 grams of proteins, kasi nga 400, di ba? Divided by 4 because per gram of protein is also 4 kilocalories. If you are lost and if you want to know more, it is thoroughly discussed in our 14-day masterclass for health optimization. But anyway, for those of you who can follow, that's only 400 kilocalories coming from protein. So divided by 4, that's 100 gram of proteins going to be coming from your meat. And kung maliit yung 100 grams para sa inyo, huwag kayong mag-alala. Actually, hindi yan konti. Kasi yung dry weight, yung weight mismo ng meat, is not actually 100% proteins. So say for example, a chicken breast, per 100 grams niyan, nasa 25 to 33% lang. Nasa 25 to 35% lang yan yung kanyang protein dyan. So if you will eat 100 grams of protein, say for example, coming from chicken, you actually need to eat 400 grams of chicken breast to obtain that 100 gram of protein. Kasi nga, nasa 1/4 lang ng weight ng meat yung totoong protein component niya. Others are just water and other weight that is not solely proteins. Okay? So, with keto, up to 75% is fats. I know it may sound so much like 1,500 or only fats, but actually, since fat is more nutrient dense, 1 gram, di ba, 1 gram of carbohydrates is equal to 4 calories. 1 gram din of proteins is equal to 4 calories. But 1 gram of fats is actually equal to 9 calories. This is the reason also why people who are fitness guru and other wellness na instructors are saying avoid fats kasi it will make you fat, because the concept is 1 gram of fat per gram will yield 9 kilocalories. So mas calorie full siya. So yes, it can make you gain fat, but only if kinain nyo ito kasabay ng hormones na nakakapagpataas at nakaka-induce ng fat storage. And with these foods, it's the carbohydrate. The moment you eat carbohydrates, you will increase your blood sugar, you will increase your insulin, at kapag meron ka ng insulin sa iyong katawan, your body will set in a fat storing mode. Hindi niya ibe-burn, hindi niya gagastusin, hindi niya gagamitin yung taba sa inyong katawan as energy. It will just store it. But if you eat, say for example, just the fats and just the proteins without the carbohydrates, without the insulin spike, your body will utilize, gagamitin niya yung taba sa inyong katawan and taba na iyong kinakain into energy. And that is where the beauty of being fat adapted, of fueling on fats will come in. So thank you and hello to our 2,222 live viewers in our YouTube channel, in our Facebook page, and of course our new page, the official page for our LCF Masterclass by yours truly. So keto is not really recommended for all. Hindi siya para sa lahat. Certain conditions, certain medical conditions can benefit from keto. But for overall wellness, hindi kailangan ng keto because keto is also known as a fast mimicking diet. So para siyang nagmimimic or kinokopya niya yung mechanism na nangyayari sa katawan when one is fasting. And as much as I do fasting and as much as I love fasting, I don't fast and I don't recommend you fasting all year round. Hindi po yan tama. We are individuals who feast, who eat, and who fast. So hindi pwedeng naka-fasting parate. As you all know, the last few weeks I've been to Dubai, I'm on a holiday, and yun nga, hindi ako masyadong nagfa-fasting doon because I'm on my feast time, my own dedicated feasting time. And right now, I'm actually fasting. Yung last meal intake ko was around 9 o'clock the previous time. I know I'm always on circadian fasting, but during that time, I was so tired, hindi na ako nakakain whole day, and that's the last time I was sent food here from loved ones. Pinadalahan nila ako ng pagkain. And of course, what can I do but oblige and eat all of those yummy food? And so 9 p.m. ako last kumain ng Tuesday, and right now it's already 11:53, so 36, 37, 38, 39. Yo, so I'm already around 39 hours of fasting, and so far buhay pa naman ako. And when it comes to optimizing your health, hindi kailangan mag-extended fast like I do, because what I do now, I'm already so used to fasting that I just listen to my body. If walang opportunity to eat and I know my way, I'm also doing well, hindi ko kailangan ng extra pagkain, I just fast. Walang problema, no problem at all. And with that, I can survive. But for those of you who are still new, hello, thank you for being here in our page. Just know na hindi nyo kailangan gawin ng extended fasting, hindi nyo kailangan gawin yung keto. Just eat low carb meals, the ones on our safe list, the ones in our food list. So check that out kung sa Facebook kayo nanonood. On search bar, just search JGC Rojo Food List at makikita nyo yung mga pagkaing safe for food. But of course, for those who still needs to heal, no, kailangan muna you make sure that you are doing it the right way. And kung kailangan ng guidance, please do it with guidance because magkakaroon ito ng side effect if you don't do it right. Just like what we have here. So again, wait, log in muna tayo sa ating Wi-Fi so that I can show you kung ano yung pwede pa nating i-improve when it comes to our way of life. Okay? So para sa nagtatanong if keto is okay with gallbladder problems, so it will be different. I will need to assess, no? Kailangan muna natin magkaroon ng baseline because when you're doing this, hindi lang po basta-basta na isang factor lang. When you are a root cause medicine practitioner, Okay, when you are a root cause medicine practitioner, we don't look at one disease as isa lang. Just because you have gallbladder problems, yun lang yung ifo-focus natin. We have to see ano yung status ng liver ninyo, ano yung status ng inyong lipids, ano yung status ng heart ninyo, ano yung status ng lungs ninyo. It's overall because yung mga sakit natin sa katawan, they don't exist in isolation. Our body is a whole system. Hindi ito parang makina na hindi ito parang sasakyan na kung yung tires ay nasira, yung tires ng papalitan mo. Our body doesn't function that way. It's all interconnected. So if you are having problems with one aspect, that's already a signal that you should look into the other more deeper aspect of your health. Kasi baka yun lang yung nag-over when it comes to certain problem, but it doesn't mean you don't have any other problems elsewhere. So, yes, if you have gallbladder problems, try to check. You might also have problems with your fat, with your liver. You might also have a little problems with your metabolism and overall inflammation sa katawan. So, meron ditong isa. Saan yun? Sabi niya, nasaan na yun? Okay. To 41 days, low carb, 16-8, TMAD. Okay, so LCF, low carb and fasting, LCIF, low carb intermittent fasting, 16-8 schedule. Ibig sabihin, eating only for 8 hours and fasting for 6 hours. TMAD is 2 meals a day during weekends, and OMAD, nag-OMAD din siya, from 55 kilos to 47. If possible, I don't want to lose my weight anymore. My concern is the health benefit. I don't have any health issues. So what will I do about it? So it's good, Cora. Congratulations that you don't have any health issues. It's good. I hope you can do circadian fasting 18-6 or 16-8 as long as you eat or finish your dinner around 6 o'clock or before sundown. And you will see that you will actually have a lot of more benefits when it comes to healing. I'm glad na wala kang health issues. You are the best candidate to start this journey kasi nga wala ka pang health issues. But if you want to improve your weight, ayaw nyo na mag-weight loss, this is the best time for you to start exercising. Exercising, strength training, resistance training, do some weightlifting, and as per weights, no, if you want to increase your muscles, or for the males, sa mga lalaki na gustong mag-increase ng muscle mass, exercise, target one muscle group per week. Yun lang muna, arms lang muna lahat, and then the next week, legs na naman, and then the next week, yung abs mo naman, di ba? Kasi magiging summer na in 6 months. In 6 months pa. Anyway, you can just prepare. Kasi pandemic pa naman, wala pang masyadong gala. So you can start increasing your protein intake and increasing your exercise. This way, whatever weight that you will gain will just be lean body mass. Hindi na po ito fat mass, because there's not much value when it comes to increasing your fat mass. And please eat well, eat right, and don't lose too much when it comes to lowering your calorie intake, especially if you're already 47 kilograms. I hope your height is just around 10, 11, and 5 or 5'1". Kasi otherwise, if you're taller than that, it will be already underweight for you. So, yon. Titingnan ko muna. Baka nandito na yung friend ko. Baka kailangan na naming umalis. Wala pa naman. Hindi pa nagre-reply. So, patuloy pa rin tayo. Thank you so much. So, next, can we still get proteins from overcooked meats like it is how we normally cook our meats at home? How can we make sure we get the daily required proteins from our diet? So overcooking is really not good. The proteins generally are still there because your proteins, iba-ibang structure yan eh. Primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary proteins depending on processing and heat exposure. So the more you expose your meat into a lot of heat, you are somewhat degrading, okay, the quality of proteins and amino acids that are there. Okay, mas kumukonti yung valuable parts of proteins that are there. But most importantly, yung nawawala when you overcooked it are the essential vitamins and minerals that are heat labile, those that are not heat stable kinds of vitamins and minerals. So that's why kahit noon, hindi rin ako sanay sa like steak na rare or medium rare. Now, I've come to appreciate the value of it when it comes to nutrition. And it's really an acquired taste. Now, I cannot eat steak that is medium rare or even medium well. Much more if it's well done. It should be rare or slightly medium rare. Hindi na talaga. Kasi sayang, you can feel na sayang yung steak kung kakainin mo is yung well done. And for Philippine karne, yung atin namang karne sa sa Philippines, since sobrang tigas talaga, and okay lang sana if you can eat it raw like that or rare like that. Pero sobrang tigas. So, but I usually eat it slightly cooked by cooking it into beef patties from ground beef. So, yung in-order naming karne from our suki na nagde-deliver sa aming bahay, yung beef is ground. Okay? So, ground beef para gumagawa kami ng sarili naming burger patty, 100% burger patty. Per 1 kilogram of beef, pwedeng lagyan ng 1/4 kilo of liver na ratio. So, or 1/3. So, per 3 kilos of beef, lagyan ng 1 kilo of liver. So, that's about 4 kilos. Tapos, ipagiling nyo, you grind it, and gawin nyo itong burger patty. Add 1 tablespoon of salt per kilo of meat. And then, add some pepper if you want. Magkukumpo lang yan. Hindi kailangan ng extender. Walang kailangan ng egg. Walang kailangan ng cornstarch. As long as fresh after na hindi na ref. So, you can put that, make a patty, and then cook it halfway, 3 minutes on each side. And then you can store it in your refrigerator. And anytime you need proteins, pwede lang kayong kumuha. What you can do is you can put it into 200 gram na weight, and then that 200 gram will already give you about 50 to 70 grams of protein per 200 gram of beef patty. Okay? So that's what you can do. I think our admins can help you. Maybe we can pin the optimizing nutrition calculator, how much your body needs in a day, because generally with low carb, we are not really lowering our protein intake. We are just somewhat hovering about similar when it comes to calories coming from proteins and coming from fats. And yung maganda dito, by nature, the ratio of fats and proteins is somewhat perfect when they are in their natural form, like the pork belly, and then the shoulder part, and then or the pork chop or the beef belly. All of those are good ratio of proteins and fats. But when it comes to eating mostly meat, hindi tayo dapat mapili. It's a nose to tail concept. Kung kumakain ka ng karne, hindi lang basta puro laman. It should be nose to tail. Pwede kang kumain ng cartilage a little, kaunting taba, kaunting skin, kaunting organ meats. That's how we used to eat. We are not choosing na this part lang kasi ito lang yung gusto ko, this part lang because ito lang yun. Because when you choose like that, you might not be able to reach your nutrient requirement in a day. Generally with low carb, mabilis ako magsalita, no? Sige, dahan-dahanin ko. Generally in low carb, we try to make sure na yung kinakain natin is low in carbohydrates, but we prioritize proteins, and also we do not shy away from fats. Ibig sabihin, we don't avoid fats, but we don't prioritize it. Kung kakain tayo, we prioritize proteins, at kung meron siyang kasamang taba, we eat it, but wag itong gawing major meal yung taba, because we also don't want so much of that, especially if you are not that physically active. And carbohydrate should be minimum so as to lower our insulin in the body and lower our inflammation. And after you covered the macronutrients, yun, fats, protein, and carbohydrates, after you lower you normalize or you reach your target when it comes to macronutrients, this is the time that you will target your micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals. Try to not think so much about calories. For the longest time, for decades, puro calories lang yung iniisip natin without looking into the hormonal effect ng food, wherein yung carbohydrates, the reason why there are many athletes, there are many physically active, there are many people who are eating healthy, whole grain, high fiber foods, and avoiding all the fats after they do their annual physical exam. By the time they reach 35, 40, diabetic, to think they are very lean and physically fit, looking really well, very athletic figure, but diabetic. It's because they weren't able to take into account the effect of insulin sa katawan natin because of too much carbohydrate intake, even if it's a high fiber carbohydrate, even if it's whole wheat, even if it's whole grain, even if it's red rice, oatmeal, overnight oats, quinoa, at marami pang iba. Because that is still too much carbohydrates. Of course, kung galing ka sa white rice and white bread, if you shift into that, you will see some improvement. Makikita mo talaga na merong improvement yung blood values, blood chemistry values, laboratory result. But if you will only remove that altogether, you'll experience a lot more. But of course, it's a different story kapag meron ka ng dinaramdam at meron ka ng iniinom na gamot. So, just like this one, okay? Ginawa lang niya ng kanyang sarili. My doctor told me that I have to take my cholesterol meds lifetime. But after starting the low carb diet and after listening to you, eto, parang kasalanan ko, in which I am so thankful. Oh, you're welcome naman po, ma'am. 2 weeks ago pa lang pala, I decided to stop taking medications. Ito yung ayaw ko. Huwag niyong basta-bastang kunin yung inyong gamot. I never said that you will stop your medications. It has to be done the guided way kasi merong mga medications na hindi pwedeng bigla-biglang kunin. Also, may GERD problem din ako. Binigyan din ako ng antibiotics na good for 3 months para sa GERD daw. Hininto ko rin. Okay. Hindi ko sinabi yan, ha. Sinasabi ko always, wala akong sinasabi na kailangan nyong hintuin ang whatever na iniinom nyo. You have to really make sure that you are doing it the guided way. We have low carb doctors that you can consult online. Best to do that. See, tingnan nyo ito. Dahil sa low carb diet, intermittent fasting, gumaan ang pakiramdam ko. Yes, that is good. That is one of the very basic thing na nararamdaman ng mga tao. Only, ang nararamdam ko ngayon ay parang may static sa left chest ko and sometimes nagpapalpitate. So, that is side effect. That is the wrong way to do it because you are not doing it right. Normal lang po ba ito, Doc? Hindi ito normal when you're doing it right. Or dahil hininto ko ang meds ko? Possibly. Thanks for being so helpful. You're welcome. And so, I want to help you the sustainable way. So, kapag meron na pong gamot na iniinom, okay, you have to look into your all history. Yung doktor, akala nyo kwento-kwento lang yan, but the bulk of our diagnosis and how we treat patient will come from history taking. So with our live sessions, as much as I want to help each one of you, hindi ko makakayang tingnan yung inyong medical history isa-isa. So that's why what we are giving are just the general nuggets of knowledge, but the moment that you already have medical condition at meron na kayong iniinom na gamot, it shouldn't be done diretso-diretso na walang proper precautions. Because yes, that palpitation may sound light, but for those of you who are aware, pwede yung electrolyte imbalance, and electrolyte imbalance is actually simple to manage if you know how to manage it. But if you don't know to manage it, it can be fatal. Pwede pong mamatay yung mga tao na naglo-low carb at nagkikito nang sila-sila lang without the guided way because they are not consuming the right amount of electrolytes. The first thing na ginagawa ng mga tao, they do low carb, they do fasting, they eat less of everything, pero they are still stuck with the mindset ng previous idea na salt is bad, that you have to be conscious with all that. And you know, that's not applicable. Hindi applicable ang low salt diet and low carb. Because when you lower down your carbohydrate intake, your body's capacity to retain salt is less. So that's why you actually need to increase your salt intake as compared to the ones who are eating high carb. Okay? And it's also a different story. Kapag meron na kayong sakit sa kidneys, meron na kayong hypertension and all that, because marami ng factors are in play. So that's why you have to do it the guided way kapag meron ng gamot. You were able to go through with specialists, buy all of these medications, and now you are hearing this and you think you can just do it on your own kasi nga na-inspire ka, and that's good that you have this inspiration. Nakita mo yung videos natin and you were encouraged to do better. But I hope you don't make yourself cheap. You don't make yourself just a little thing na pwede mo lang i-risk yung health mo. You having all of those medications already is already an indication that you really need to do more serious work when it comes to healing, when it comes to improving your health. Para sa mga taong young, without medications, doing well in life, very muscular, very physically active, and want to improve their health in general and want to prevent disease, then low carb nutrition you can start right away. Just watch all the videos and learn on your own. You can do it perfectly well without any risk of anything. But of those of you na meron ng iniinom na medications, marami po yan. You will understand it more in our masterclass. And if you are interested, just look into our group LCF Masterclass by yours truly, by Dr. Josephine Grace Chua Rojo. And nandun po yan para sa GERD, para sa hypertension, para sa fatty liver, para sa arthritis. We already have all of those programs so that you will know, you will understand. And for those need guidance, we have a lot of low carb doctors available for you for consultation. But nag-uubusan na kasi yung ibang doctors namin ongoing pa yung classes and lessons. But hopefully, the moment we finish all the masterclass, mas marami na pong low carb doctors that will be available to help you. So, with this problem, mostly it's electrolyte imbalance. Nagsisimula ang electrolyte imbalance with less salt intake, and then the moment na kulang na yung salt intake nila sa katawan, nagkakaroon na rin ng imbalance when it comes to potassium, and then magnesium, and then calcium, at lahat-lahat na. So, the moment that you start low carb, make sure that you are ensuring that your salt intake and your electrolyte intake is well covered. You can join Life Without Rice and Low Carb Feasting and Fasting Community. We have there in the guides, meron yung general homemade electrolyte recipe that you might actually not need at all if you are eating foods that are nutrient dense, balanced food targeting proteins and potassium when it comes to food component. Mataas po yung potassium, hindi lang po banana. You can eat avocado, nuts, seeds, green leafy vegetables, and eggplant. And add salt. Okay? Wag matakot sa asin, especially if you still don't have any kidney problems. And for kidney problems naman, you can also benefit from learning more in our upcoming masterclass. So, kaya lang papunta na yung aking sundo, and I have to say goodbye, but maraming salamat po to each and everyone, especially for those na nagbigay ng stars sa ating show. So, hello Doc, kamusta? Thank you Garnet sa pagpapangamusta. Okay naman po ako. I hope you are okay din. And nakakapaglagas po ba ng hair ang LCIF? No, if you are doing it right, but yes, if you are not eating enough food, especially coming from proteins and good fats. Sometimes people mistaken low carb as low calorie. LC is low carb, low carbohydrate, but not low calorie. We eat sometimes more calorie than what we need in a day in general computation, but it's about choosing your source of food, your source of calorie. And it's mostly should come from nutrient-dense foods, yung mga pagkaing mataas sa vitamins, minerals, essential nutrients, but mababa sa carbohydrates, mababa sa calories coming from carbohydrates. So, green leafy vegetables, meat, red meat, seafoods, seashells, oysters, those are healthy kinds. Pwedeng-pwede po yan. So, you can have a series of cycle. I-cycle nyo yung mga karne, yung mga source of proteins ninyo. Because if you are already having hair loss, you are not doing it right. Okay? You are not eating enough and you are not eating the right foods. Maybe yung iba, naglo-low calorie, nagfa-fasting, pero kumakain pa rin ng kakaunting carbs. I hope you are not one of those. So, yun lang muna. Gusto ko pa sanang magstay, but nandiyan na yung sundo ko. Actually, I was about to leave by 8 o'clock, but hindi ako nakagising. So, sorry. And I just finished a webinar with one of the companies here in the Philippines, their progress notes after 3 months of getting into our program. And so far, sobrang nakakataba ng puso. All of their journey. Yung isa, gusto niya weight maintenance lang, and she was able to maintain it. Yung isa from starting of 63 kilograms, nasa 56 na lang, and at height of 5'4", so tamang-tama. Yung isa dito, yung pinakamalaki ata, from almost 60 kilograms of 59.8. Yun talaga, if you are on the overweight side, you really calculate by the last point. So from 59.8 kilograms, nasa 49 kilograms na lang siya. So it's a 10 kilogram loss, and it's just perfect for her height of 5. So, it's good. So, sobrang ganda ng kanilang mga progress and I'm so happy that I get to share that journey with them kahit sa simula pa lang. And they are very happy with low carb nutrition. And to all of you who joined that program, hello po. I hope you are watching. And if you are not watching or your family is watching, just like what you told me, maraming salamat po. Eto, last question na lang. Pwede ba low carb keto diet sa breastfeeding mom? The baby is turning 1 years old. So again, no need for keto, just low carb, just low carb. Try to watch the episode with my sister, attorney Kath Chu. So she is breastfeeding and she is on low carb even if she's from birth, from pregnancy even, since nabuntis siya. And until now that my nephew is already 3 months old, still on low carb, and he is the healthiest baby I have ever seen. Even my entire journey as a doctor, hindi ko mabilang kung ilang mommy yung napaanak ko before when I was still in med school and when I had my internship. But he is the healthiest baby. Yung kaniyang umbilical cord, ganito kalaki, sobrang tigas, sobrang laki, super healthy. And his milestone, yung kaniyang milestone per age is 2 to 3 months advanced. Ganon ka-amazing yung low carb nutrition. And the nutrition of the mother will also dictate kung gaano ka-nutritious yung breast milk na ipoproduce niya. So, yes, of course, and 1 year old, your baby can already benefit from eating proteins. Give him the right food, no? Hindi lang basta mash na potato or mashed vegetables. Your baby has the enzyme to digest softened chicken, fish, beef even. Kayang-kaya ng katawan ng baby yan. That's your body, your baby. If you want to grow your baby well, provide him with a basic building block, which is amino acid. And amino acid for growth is important, and amino acid comes from protein. So you eat muscles so that your body or your baby will also have the capacity to form muscles because yun yung kanyang basic ingredients. It's the amino acids, it's the proteins that will give our body the development and physical development that it needs. So, yun lang muna for now. We will do more of our extra concerns in low carb and fasting in the coming days whenever we have time. Ngayon, aalis muna ako. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day. Have a good week ahead. Remember to always stay low carb so that we all stay safe. Maraming salamat po.